Hey Bayek, it's me, Ian, and in today's video, I'm going to look at this. Yes, this is The Robots of Death from 1977, a fourth Doctor story from season 14. Now, I've decided, well, why not? I want to sort of encourage people who perhaps are a bit afraid of not of classic Doctor Who, basically. I don't blame them. It is a daunting project, to look at classic Doctor Who, but I want people not to be afraid and to see that there's some great things that they maybe find that they can enjoy, and that you don't have to go right from the beginning to watch these stories. What I've decided to do is to look at stories in the golden era of the classic period, I think, of Doctor Who, which is the third and fourth Doctors. And, well, that period was from 1970 to 1981. And it really is a tremendous period in Doctor Who history. And I think a lot of you might actually enjoy it because it is really good. Here, I'll go into the story, and it's basically a four-part story. Each episode is 25 minutes. So you have to get used to kind of that. The episode's 25 minutes long. They were transmitted every Saturday. They always ended with a Doctor in peril or some crucial part of the story. And you got the ending, and then the episode would start up the following week, and you'd have like a recap, about what's been going on. Brilliant stuff. Can't say fairer than that. Now, this was transmitted 29th of January 1977 to the 19th of February 1977. It was directed by a new director, a young director called Michael E. Bryant, who, as you can see on the extras on this edition, was totally loving the fact that he'd been given this story. It's a studio-based story as well, because they had to be. Doctor Who was a well-run machine in this area, and they knew exactly what they were doing. They were well-planned, and so many stories they could have location work. Others they had to do in the studio. But he found that this story presented a lot of great opportunities for him. This is written by another writer, Chris Brewster. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And he's got all sorts of influences in this story, which we'll go into as well. The script editor is the wonderful servant to Dr. Robert Holmes, who sadly died involved in the Trial of the Time Lord, the Sixth Doctor story. He wasn't very well by then. This is going into the 80s, but his period as script editor, absolutely amazing. And then the producer is the man, really. He's the Russell T Davies of the period, the towering figure who could do no wrong, really. Philip Hinchcliffe. He brought so much to Doctor Who, created all these wonderful stories. He directed where the show should go. He wanted it, I think, to appeal more to an adult audience as well as the children. And he ran into controversy as well, as at the time people were saying it was getting violent. A certain Mary Whitehouse of the day, who thought she had a voice for the people, but people loved it. They loved this area. You could go into gothic horror. You could go into hardcore science fiction. You could go into adventures. You could go into all kinds of genres. And this was the man, Philip Hinchcliffe, who directed Doctor Who in that as producer. He got himself the best writers he could around him, and he had Robert Holmes, their script editor. What more could he want? He got the team working so well together. And of course, he had Tom Baker, who really was in his prime. So that is another important part. Tom Baker, he was so comfortable. He put his own unique stamp as the Fourth Doctor. That mixture of sort of madness with an alien, but very intelligent. Also very caring, even though you may not always see that in his character, because but he's very caring as well. A man who would stand up as well for social justice, just like the Third Doctor. They were not afraid sometimes to point out the obvious injustices in the world. And that is very interesting. But the Fourth Doctor, fantastic. Also, in this story, it's the second story, which introduces a new companion, Leela. Leela came in, the story before was The Face of Evil. This was her second story. And I think she's settling in quite well, though some people believe that their relationship with the Fourth Doctor was not quite as comfortable at the time. But I don't think it shows at all on screen. I think it's quite a touching relationship already. And as it develops through the series, it's good. I think it's really good. Of course, the next story, the last one of the season, is the absolutely wonderful Talons of Weng-Chiang. Another high in the Fourth Doctor Who storylines, because we're going after this, season 15 is the beginning of the Graham Williams era as producer, which his style is very different in some ways to Philip Hinchcliffe. But that's another story we'll talk about sometime maybe. So, what is this story about? The story basically is a sand miner is going on this very desolate planet, and on board are all these robots, because the civilization is now dependent on robots, and this private company is there with these collection of characters who are there to extract the minerals, make money. It's all profit, and this is where the story begins and the murders begin. Now, the influence of this story is interesting because you've got like an Agatha Christie kind of setup with various murders going on and who's the murderer. That's interesting. Then you've got the science fiction Asimov influence about robots and their take on what is happening in their development in civilization. And there's a whole big area, and we look at all this is going on in the story about the robots. And then we've even got a Frank Herbert influence with Dune. You know, the seeing this great mining carrier just going along is very reminiscent of Dune. And brilliant. I think that the thing about this story is it looks fantastic, and there's so much brilliant design. The effects are effective. I mean, this is on a really small budget, relatively, and the the amount of detail and the costumes, the set designs. It's got a very Art Deco feel. That was what the director wanted. And that goes right through to the designs on the set. I mean, it's not, what's interesting, it's not a military setting. You know, often you get these kind of military, this is a civilian setting. You think of, like, I was thinking a bit like of going, this is just going a bit further, you know, further on down the line, Alien, where you've got a ship which is a company based, and it's not a military style story at all. And this is exactly the same. It's a group of people who are there just to make money. Yeah, that's what they do. And they have these apartments that they sleep in, and live in. And then there's the work areas. And the whole ship is wonderfully designed. And they're there to, as I say, extract these minerals. And the director, you can tell in the interviews, he's so pleased about the way it looked. And that's what everybody comments. It looks so good. You wouldn't believe how good this looks. And also, it is very much down to the director, the way he gets out so much, by his use of, even the angles of the camera. And he talks a bit about that, about the way he's filming techniques. And Doctor Who, at the time, as I say, was a well-organised machine. Everything was planned ahead. Everything was well planned. Rehearsals took place as well. They did manage to get rehearsals in. Let's talk about that. The actors are great caliber, often quite well known. At this time, one of the actors, Russell Hunter, was well known in television circles. He was in this very hit series, Callum. He played this character Lonely in that. Also, I noticed there's Brian Croucher in here. Now, he went on to play Travis in Blake 7. Yes, Blake 7. A lot of Doctor Who people ended up having connections with Blake Saravan, which of course was a Terry Nation series as well, influence. So we've got all that going on. Anyway, I'm going on about too much, but the story progresses really well. Each episode, as it ends, you get the wonderful climaxes. The robot design. Let's quickly talk about the robots. The robots look so good. It's a simple design almost. Again, they talk about how they want it linked with this Art Deco feel. And just a very simple special effect on the faces. The faces out of the thing makes them really sinister. It's the way that they put this red flickering lights on their eyes. You know something's going bad. You know something's going down. Yes. There's certainly something going on there, I'll tell you. And it really adds to the story. I mean, you could watch this story and think, wow, this is really good. Everything about it is top notch. Now, the villain is called Taron Capel. And that, Taron Capel, was a reference to Karel Capek. I think that's how he's like, Capek, who is credited with mentioning robot for the first time in literature. So this goes back, I think, to the 1920s when this name was mentioned, robot. And that's how we see the development in science fiction, which it did in literature. Robots became such an important part of science fiction to some extent. And in Doctor Who as well. lots of robots in Doctor Who. Some successful, some not, but these are probably one of the most successful. Because I can't include Daleks and Cybermen, even though they do often look robotics, because they have a living element to them. Like in the Daleks, you've got inside the creature. In the Cybermen, you've got humans one time who have been transformed into the Cybermen. So these are mechanical creatures, in the robotic term. So excellent. They really are wonderful. People remember these for, well, it is now considered one of the great stories of Doctor Who, and it's always been one of my favourites. And the thrill of watching it every so often, I just have to watch certain of my classic Doctor Who stories. I just watch and watch again. I always revisit. I am going to say, I mean, I do love the new Doctor Who series. I'm a Doctor Who fan through and through. And that's why I always feel it's a shame when people perhaps don't know the classic series, because without the classic series, you wouldn't have the program you are watching. And people like Russell T Davies, they were brought up on the classic series, and they know and understand the history of Doctor Who, and that is always wonderful to see. And Tom Baker is, I think you would class him up there in terms of popularity with the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. So that's always worth looking. And a lot of people, I think in America, for instance, Doctor Who was introduced to them through the 4th Doctor. I put the 3rd Doctor because in terms of this country, the 3rd Doctor is very important because he really brings the series into the modern era. And it's also the first series in colour, from the 60s. So he's like the 70s. He's bringing the 70s. And the 3rd Doctor is very interesting, because I hope maybe to show some of his episodes as well. I don't know how often I'm going to do this, but I just felt like doing it, and I will try and do more of these because I just want to just show you. Now, quickly before I go on too long, these stories were released on DVD. This Robots of Death actually was the second DVD release. It was in November 2000 that it first came out. It was the first DVD release of Doctor Who was the 5 Doctors, but not the full version. But it's still a pretty good version. But here, I'll just show it. This is the second release of DVD of the Robots of Death. This is now, from what I can see, you can't actually get this, but I suspect if you go to second-hand places, look on eBay, CEX, I'm sure you could get this very cheap, as most of these are. It's another thing that I want to, if you're worried about getting some of the sets and things, you can pick these DVDs up at a very cheap price. Now, what I've got here is the special edition of the Robots of Death, which came in the Revisitation series. This is the 3rd one. These are still available. I was looking on Amazon, and they contain 3 stories, these Revisitation sets. And this ad, and this is brilliant, it had my favourite 2nd Doctor story. I think the Tomb of the Cybermen, that's in their special edition. They've all been remastered as well, and lots more special features. So you've got that, and the 3 Doctors. Yeah, I mean, the 3 Doctors typifies the brilliance of Doctor Who, and with its history. History, I know I'm preaching, is important, and therefore the Three Doctors recognises that and celebrates the programme on the 10th anniversary. And there is this story in that set. So, if you want to really you could get this. Say it's on Amazon. But if you don't worry, go on eBay, or say go to somewhere like CEX, or even some charity shops. You may well find the Robots of Death. So, I recommend it, definitely. The special features are great on here as well, and as playing this on the 4K TV, and it looks great, and my player really upscales it. Of course, being me, I'm mad about Doctor Who. I've got this, which is season 14, which as the last, this is an important season because the departure of Sarah Jane, we get the important episodes like the Deadly Assassin, for instance, which really is into the mythology. That's a fourth Doctor story. Tells you all about the Time Lords, Deadly Assassin, and the Master. Of course, we get a revisit with that. But the two Leela stories on here and the departure are, of course, the Face of Evil, where Leela is introduced, the Robots of Death, and, of course, the Talons of Weng-Chiang. And I say that because Talons of Weng-Chiang is considered one of the highlights. Anyhow, this is this. But this, I think, may well be now available as a Blu-ray season. These are the special collectible ones. But these all are going to be released as a 4K, as a Blu-ray edition. It may well be. I'm not sure, but just have a look if you're interested. Then that's how we're getting a good season. And this is quality. Period. You're not going to take any chances if you are a bit worried. This would give you a really good insight into the Fourth Doctor, and say it's the end of an era that Phil Hinchcliffe leaves at the end of this. This is his last season, but it's great. So here we are then. I hope you enjoy what I've said, and maybe it might encourage you to watch this brilliant story. It really is brilliant. Each episode just beautifully blends into each other as the body count arises, more revelations take place. Everything is just fantastic, and to its ultimate conclusion, and you love it, honestly. I cannot express how much I love this series, and I hope that you would too. So that's it. It's just a new thing. I've just wanted to just do a few of these, and I might do some more. I'll see. So if you're interested in the videos that I produce, subscribe and we'll let you know. And also, it costs note. If you like it as well, it costs note to subscribe. And if you like it, please give it a like. That'd be great. And put some comments. Tell me what you think about this. I know how difficult it is for some people to get into the classic series, and I'm just hoping to give you a gateway, perhaps, to seeing the classical series. And And I think doing the colour episodes is a good start. Anyway, that's it. So, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee, and I'll see thee again.